Welcome to the Success in Africa podcast with Dr Modupe, your weekly dose of leadership vitamins to make you successful in Africa.
Hello, and welcome to the Success in Africa podcast. My name is Dr Modupe Taylor Pierce, and I am a scholar and practitioner of leadership and organizational development. Simply put, I study what makes people successful. I've been doing this for 3 decades now with a particular focus on people in Africa. And in this podcast, I share stories, lessons, insights about people having success in Africa. We've been doing this for over a year, and this year we're focusing a bit more on actually bringing the people to you so you can hear their stories from the proverbial horse's mouth. And today I'm so excited to bring you somebody who has been described as an insurance mogul, a financial services magnate, a smart investor, a steady hand. He is the group CEO of the company that represents one of the most valuable stocks on the Malawi Stock Exchange. This, folks, is none other than Mr. Vizenge Kumwenda, the group CEO of Nico Holdings. I just want to share the fact that we do this for you in Africa. You who want to be successful in Africa, whether you're in Africa or in the diaspora, so that you can see that it is possible to be successful and you can see how to be successful. So let's now go to the 3rd chapter, which is the return to Nico as finance director and the journey to becoming the group managing director. Over back to you, sir.
Oh, thank you. So I came back. That was now 2005, where I was the finance director, and I must say, my stay at this other previous employer, I must say it was an environment of very hardworking people, very hardworking, and they taught you how you should stand on your own, defend your corner. Defend your corner. I never used to be outspoken. I never used to be, allow me to use the word aggressive in a positive way. But because these people, professionals, they would corner you to a point, they would interrogate you. Now, if you have a sense of pride, okay, and if you believe you know the stuff, you had to, talk your way out of that corner and demonstrate to them that you know what you're doing. Yeah, so now when I went back as FD at Nico, look, I was a much more confident person than the time I was leaving. In fact, my appreciation also, because this was a different type of financial service that I was exposed to, including, asset management, which I was trained. My appreciation of, the financial services, financial industry, and, was much, much stronger than before I left Nico. And in fact, it made me so confident when I'm sitting in the boardroom. I was so confident that, look, I felt there were very few people who were as exposed as I had been exposed. So that really gave me a lot of, confidence, and it made me enjoy what I was doing. And one thing, when I got there, I got back, I noted that, our investment management was being outsourced to a third party. But because of my asset management knowledge, I said, no, we'll take it back. And, of course, our service provider wasn't happy. In fact, he literally didn't like me, because if it wasn't for me, they would have hung on to this business, So, and in fact, I moved on. You won't believe it. I decided to have an asset management business for Nico. And right now, the asset management business you see in the group I set it up. You know, it was one of my initiatives, my projects that I said, look, we're going to set up. I set it up from scratch. Now it's one of, our, good businesses in the group, giving us really some good return. Yeah. So I was FD for about 4 years, and then we had a chief operating officer, who decided to leave. And then my boss said, look, that guy has left, so I want you to be chief operating officer. I said, look, boss, I can't be, because I was a finance director, I was a member of the board. So I said, look, you can't make me a chief operating officer. I was a position lower, in terms of grade to what I was already doing. So I said, okay, then what do you want? I said, no, if you want to make me MD, deputy MD, you make me deputy managing director, I'll take that. so I said, okay, you have it.
I love it.
Yeah, you see, I said, no, because people, I go out in the market, I'm chief operating officer, I move from finance director, it doesn't make sense. So I said, okay. I said, what? I said, okay, make me deputy managing director, I'll take it. He said, okay, you have it. So that's how I was appointed deputy managing director. So,
Ask for what you want.
yeah, so,
Okay.
but the fact of the matter was, look, at that point, I don't think there was anybody who understood that group better than I did. Okay.
Mm.
So, and that's why I was able to speak the way I was speaking, obviously in a courteous manner.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, and that's why even my boss said, "Okay, you'll have it," and even the board didn't, they didn't even hesitate. And then in 2015, or that 2016, then my boss retired, and then they appointed me, group managing director. Except that at that time when I was taking over, we were very weak at that point. We had expanded into the region. We had set up greenfields in Mozambique. We had bought companies in Tanzania, in Uganda, and we had set up in company in Zambia. So the group had grown. But when you're setting up new businesses, they are capital hungry. And especially greenfields, they take time before they start making money. In fact, some of them will require you to recapitalize. So, 2012 to 2015, 2012, 2013, that's when we expanded. 14, we expanded. We had started end 2014 to 15. Yeah, these greenfields were yet to take off, and then the businesses in Malawi were not performing as well, and then there's need for more capital for these new businesses. It was tough. It was tough. So anyway, I took over in 2015. 2016, my boss retired, and we reached a crisis point where our bank, NBS Bank, was down on its knees. In fact, in the boardroom, we even considered to sell the bank, because we're saying, look, this bank is going to bring down the group. There were so many options, proposals, from the board. Now you can imagine, I've just taken over the group, and then I'm being bombarded. Okay, say, let's do this, you do this. And it's like, the moment my boss retired, it's like, the directors had been freed to get at me, everyone wanting things to be done their own way. you know
New teacher in the classroom.
so, Modupe, that was one of, 2016 was one of my toughest times. And then I said, look, really, yes, I'm happy to be, group managing director, but this is not what I signed up to. I thought I would be given space to do what I believe I need to do to turn around this business. But now it's like everyone, it's like, I don't know, everyone felt they're free now to push for this, push for that. One thing I did, again, I had my ideas. Okay, I had my ideas. The idea of us to sell the bank, I was totally against. Okay, I believe the bank had potential. And there were so many. They say, okay, go to this one. He's prepared to buy the bank, and then we'll relieve ourselves of these pressures. And I remember I went to one of our key stakeholders. Says, you know what, Viz, let's sell the bank. Otherwise, we may reach a point where we may have to pay somebody to take over this bank. And these are people who I was going to for support, and then that's the kind of stuff they were telling me. So anyway, the long and short of it is that it reached a boiling point, and I said, it's either they'll fire me or they allow me to do what I want to do. Then actually they said, okay, let us give management a chance. But I knew that chance meant you better make it work, because
enough room for you.
I knew that it was a way of saying, okay, you have your way, but you better make it work, because if it doesn't work, you're out of here. But look, one thing we appointed a new CEO at the bank, and we put in place austerity measures. For instance, I remember, when annual increment time at the bank came, so we told them that there will be no salary increments. We are here to turn around this business, and what you should be happy with is that you've got a job. So if we turn around this business, we'll pay. You'll have the salary increments. Yeah, and the good thing is that management at the understood that. Yeah. Anyway, the long and short of it is that within 2 years, the bank was turned around, and right now the bank is our biggest business in terms of financial performance. It's contributing over 50% of the group results. Yeah, like right now we are the biggest financial services group in Malawi. By if you look at the range of services we are offering, we call ourselves a one-stop shop for financial services. Yeah, so now the relationship with the board has never been better. In fact, I've got a free hand. Everything I say.
Congratulations.
No, thank you. Obviously, look, the board has so much trust, has so much confidence now, so much. And I must say, look, obviously, like I said, we had heated debates, and the good thing is that everyone meant well. Where the board was sitting, they, whatever they were saying, it wasn't out of anything other than what they believed was best for the business. And likewise, I also felt the same. So yeah, so that, I think, for me, it was nothing personal. It was everyone wanting the best for the business. Yeah. So it's amazing. So now the group is doing so well, and I'll tell you what, we're now beginning to obviously we really want to grow the business largely in Malawi. We are in Zambia as well, but 80% of the business is in Malawi. And but we're now harboring the thoughts of, let's go regional again. We're now ready, because they thought the idea of going regional, expanding, was a great one. But when I look back, it was the issue of we weren't really ready
Yeah,
we didn't have
I,
resources in terms of people, yes, people as well as financial, you see. But otherwise, the
absolutely.
idea itself was a great idea. So now, yeah, we believe if we want to drive that agenda, we learned from what happened last time. We believe we should be able to do it better.
Wow. I mean, I am just, so I've gotten another couple of nuggets of wisdom here. And, so number one, your experience that you had gained by leaving Nico, the breadth of your experience served for you to be able to help the company to even diversify into things like asset management or recognize the value of the bank as well. That's number one.
Correct.
Number two,
Correct.
you learned the value of defending your corner, having courage and conviction in your decisions. And that allowed you to make those trying decisions like keeping the bank when all else around you were saying, listen, let it go. Okay. Number three, I'm learning from you the importance of asking for what you want. Because so many times we are offered something, like you were offered the chief operating officer job, and maybe out of politeness or out of fear, we say, okay, well, thank you, this, but then it's not really what you want. Ask for what you want. And that's how you got to be the deputy managing director, which then made you a shoo-in for the managing director job, which now has, in hindsight, helped the board to be successful because you made those key strategic decisions based on your experience of A, having a breadth of the industry, and B, being able to have the courage to own your decisions. And today, of course, everybody, the shareholders, the board are all looking much smarter because they picked you as the managing director. They give you enough rope for you to be able to do that. This is amazing. What a success story.
Thank you.
I know you're never comfortable with compliments, but really, Vizenge, this is an amazing success story, and I can say that we're looking forward to hearing even the next chapter as Nico Holdings will no longer be hiding in Malawi and Zambia, but actually be taking over the rest of Africa. So thank you so much. Thank you. Is there any parting thought that you want to give, especially now that we're seeing a lot of geopolitical movement of Africans and people of African descent, frankly being told, go back to your continent because, Europe and North America is no longer very welcome to you. And these people are wondering, should I come back to Africa? What is there? What are your thoughts on this? Maybe just 2-3 minutes, and then we end today's episode.
You see, what immediately comes to mind when, asking me for my thoughts in that respect is that, you see, I was just engaging with a colleague yesterday or 2 days ago, and more or less we're kind of looking back to where we are, and we're trying to see now where do we go from here, because we're saying, look, we really as Nico Group now, we're a national asset, and we really want to be part of the forces to shape development in the country. So one thing that came to mind is that we agreed to say, look, we have capacity, and this capacity we have is something that perhaps we don't realize how powerful. We underrate it. Okay. And Modupe, I have had the privilege of sitting in forums, in the US, in the developed world, and the dynamics are not different. The basics of doing business are not different. Okay. But you have to believe in yourself, and that you are just like any other. We are global players. We're just as good as the global market needs. In fact, there are so many elements. We are better, even better. Okay, because mind you, I told you, like, our background, the background that we have, and then we've been exposed to the so-called advanced, world. Now, if we fuse the two, we'll come up with better solutions than that are out there. You see, so and Africa, look, we have everything here. We have everything. It's in our hands. It's in our hands. If we're prepared to work hard, to invest, look, in fact, for me, anybody who believes they are better out there, it means, when they come here, then there are big opportunities for them, because out there we live like second-class citizens. It takes, it takes a mission for you to be recognized, and yet perhaps you are the one who is doing the heavy lifting. Okay, so look, not true. Okay, so for me, obviously it's good to be out there, exposure, learn, and so on. But once all that is done, Africa is where the action is. That's where you can achieve, you can, do transformative, life-changing stuff, and indeed for the benefit of our people. That's what I would say.
Well, I must say, I am so grateful for the time that you've given us, Vizenge, and for the absolute nuggets of wisdom that you've shared from your journey. To my listeners, I just want to say, we could have this conversation for another 2 hours. I can assure you that there's more. But I hope you've learned a lot from Vizenge Kumwenda's experience, from his journey, how he got there. He was born into a regular family, just like many of you, and he got to where he got to. What he has achieved, you can too. And he's not done, because soon Nico may be coming to a country near you in Africa. I just want to encourage you. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Be good enough to share it with other people. This is brought to you by BCA Leadership. We specialize in supporting leaders with consulting, with coaching, with training services around leadership, governance, and management. And we are certainly proud to be associated with Mr. Vizenge Kumwenda. Thank you very much. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Tomorrow belongs to those people who prepare for it today. See you next week.